Hey everyone, it's Tom Seymour from VHS Massacre, here to give you some updates. For those of you who don't know, I make independent films, been doing it for a long time now. And so I like to let you know what I'm up to. And typically, if you're an independent filmmaker, usually you can get some information out of it, see what I'm doing right, see what I'm doing wrong, and make your own decisions. But some of the exciting news is that with our newest documentary, Video Dreams, a feature length doc about my 30-year quest to get on the shelf at Blockbuster Video and beyond, um, we hit a few landmarks with the film. These were personal goals that I made. Tim Cooling and we work together, and he's a producer and composer. And there are a few goals that we set out in doing. Um, so we entered, I believe at this point, it's around 116 film festivals with this film. Knowing we needed to invest in the film festival circuit to get attention with our film, this was our goal. It was an experiment of sorts. We never quite gone this hard in the film festival circuit. But we surpassed a few different marks. We hit our 20th win, and our we have about 11 nominations, and then we hit, I believe it's our 42nd official selection and win combination, that kind of whole thing. We hit 42. We had I had a mental stretch goal of trying to premiere in 50 cities. I don't think we've quite done that. I got to look at um, the overlap and all that stuff. But that was the goal, is to try to really make an impression in the independent film world before we went to streaming. We would do streaming next and build up somewhere in the film, and then the end goal would be physical media, so Blu-ray, something like that. Um, so one of the most exciting things is that we had a Saturday night screening. I'm sorry, Saturday afternoon screening of Video Dreams at the legendary San Francisco Independent Film Festival. Widely regarded is one of the top actual independent film festivals. It actually has six other film festivals under its flag, and just their genre fest, another hole in the head, is a top 50 in the world genre film festival by Movie Maker magazine. So it just goes to show that we were very lucky to get into that. We had an amazing screening, uh, great turnout, full audience, great Q&A, and Chris Metzler hosted, and I got to meet Jeff Ross, who founded the film festival. It's the most important independent film festival in the Bay Area, I would say. There's San Francisco International, but that is the studio system. Um, and so, he created it as he had a fellow filmmaker, and I think that film had his friend had made a film, and he realized in San Francisco, it really at that time, we're talking at least 25 years ago, late 90s, I believe, that there wasn't many choices to screen in San Francisco. So he's like, I'm gonna found it, and slowly it's known now as the Slam Dance of San Francisco. So very important festival, and I was absolutely delighted to be part of it. Got to meet these guys, Chris Metzler, who's Doc. He's done a few different docs, but the one that I saw not too long ago was Plagues and Pleasures on the Salton Sea, which was narrated by John Waters. So how cool is that? But San Francisco Independent Film Festival was a great time. We flew in Friday night, screened the movie Saturday, did the Q&A, went to a screenwriting panel to watch that, met everyone, and then flew out Sunday. But it was perfect. It was great. So can't recommend that film festival more. Um, Look at San Francisco Indie Fest. Look at all the other competitions they have. They have a standalone doc fest. They have, like I said, a genre fest. They have a green fest. There's all sorts of cool stuff they have. So uh, that was a really good time. Um, so yeah, and other news, we hit our 20th win. we got a notification from the Los Angeles Underground Film Forum, and they gave us this. They called it for our contribution to um, independent cinema. They gave us a honorable mention award, so that was pretty cool. And so that's like yeah, that makes 20, 20 awards. And then we got nominated at the North Film Festival in Spain, Barcelona, for best documentary. So we've had a few things happen in this past month, and the film festival run for this film is going to move into the summer even, and so we'll see. There could be some big news on the horizon. We're still trying to plan the new filmmakers New York premiere. We're official selection of them, Alt Fest, and which is the longest running year-round New York Film Festival, which was I've been screening there for several decades, so it's been good. But we're trying to do they screen they have an online portion that's like for like a longer expansive time, so we gotta time that right so it doesn't jeopardize any city premieres and stuff like that. But we're gonna do that hopefully in the summer. One of the coolest things about the San Francisco Independent Film Festival screening is that we were able to get audience feedback. So I went with Tim Kulig and Mike Aransky. Mike Aransky is featured in the film quite a bit, and because he helped create some of the films in the doc alongside, myself. And you know, I have seen this thing a million times because I cut it, and I think Tim was like not crazy about watching himself just being like in the back of the theater, being that guy watching his own movie in the back of the theater. And so Tim and I, we kind of waited outside while the premiere was going on. But Mike, being a trooper and a true independent filmmaker, was like, I'm gonna sit in and I want to get audience reaction. So, which audience reaction of this kind is very important. And so we're like, is that cool? You'll get feedback. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. He's all about it. It's his idea. And so he said, there's a scene on this film we did called Land of College Prophets where we had like a big production problem. There was a scheduling conflict, and one of the actors with like something got screwed up on, and so we didn't have one of the main characters during a fight scene. We actually had to get a stand-in last minute and shoot the whole fight scene without their performer, and then they came in to do close-ups the next day. So it was like the way I painted the picture with narration and footage. I guess the audience really were like, um, they really engaged with that. And then a lot of the stuff from London Betty, that was more production-based stuff, but I guess that got a lot of laughs because there are some pretty funny visuals in London Betty. Um, so London Betty got some serious laughs and stuff like that, and so that's very helpful to figure out how the audience engaged with it. But the Q&A was great. There was a lot of hands. When the Q&A began, like, I mean, there probably was like 10 people with their hands up, and then what happens is someone asks their question, and so a few hands go down, and but some really good questions about what stuff we're working on next, and would we want to pivot back to narrative filmmaking, and then also like about film distribution, all this stuff. So really engaging stuff. It was a delight for us. For me, um, this is a weird story, but when Mike Ransky and I were young, and we went out to LA with Phil Garrett. We went to California with Phil Garrett and Mike. We all went out to see if we wanted to live there, and ultimately, we weren't. We figured we weren't crazy about it, so no one wanted to kind of go for it. I ended up moving to New York. Aransky did too. We moved out there together. We're originally from Connecticut, and eventually Mike got to go back to California in style. He got hired at hired at IGN in San Francisco, and then he worked in San Francisco and LA and all this stuff. And so like he got to go back to LA, uh, like to work, like almost invited back. You know what I mean? To me, it was always like a psychological invitation or embrace or something. And so this was mine. This was mine. I got to go back to San Francisco and premiere at San Francisco Independent Filmmaker as a filmmaker and getting um, celebrated, if you will, for my this doc, which is about my career. So it was, for me, it was really really touching. And but that's to say, the reason why this happened is because I made the doc and because I entered these film festivals, and I had no idea like what was going to come through, what wasn't. We had screened at another home had before, but we never got into the main festival at San Francisco Independent Film Festival. So this was really awesome, and yeah, so I can't say enough about it. That's definitely worth checking out. So this came in the mail, James Rolfe's Gnome Cave. Hopefully that's, see that, right? Um, and this is a really cool book. It's kind of like got a horror theme to it, and it's about this group of 20 somethings who go into a uh, they break into an amusement park. They have these funny memories of this ride, the Gnome Cave, that had a, like a dragon at the end of it. Half of them remember it, half of them don't. So far, it's really good. It's a page turner. It gets into it real quick, and this is another great book by James Rolfe. I have his other one. I believe it's called The Movie Making Nerd, which I put on the shelf right next to Rebel Without a Crew. I think it's a fantastic book. So Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the best films ever made. I would actually say Temple of Doom is one of my favorite Indiana Jones movies. I think it's amazing. It's like if Indiana Jones was put into a horror film, which is a brilliant concept. I just think it came too soon as the second one. People were like, whoa, this is crazy. Last Crusade is one of the best movies ever made. Um, not cinema, not like a Tarkovsky film or Seventh Seal Bergman or something, like, but a good movie. Um, anyway, so when we were growing up, pre-internet, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas would do these interviews, and they talk about Indiana Jones, the origin of Indiana Jones. They said, "What was from this afternoon serials that we would watch growing up?" And they were sort of like, you'd see these like it'd be like Zorro or people with like a hat and swinging on stuff with a whip and stuff like that. And so you're thinking, okay, that's that was the origin. And to some degree it is. I think the whip, essentially, the whip is from the serials. But the thing that we were never really told, and there's going to be some cinema snobs out there like, what do you mean this is common knowledge? Well, it's not common knowledge to me. So Harry Steele in The Secret of the Inca is I believe it's 1954 film, and it's Charlton Heston, and on the set of Indiana Jones, according to Wikipedia, they showed this film several times, and they showed it to the costume uh, uh, creators, production design, and they copied it one for one. The pants, the jacket, the hat, the stubble, and Harry Steele is an adventurer. He's more of a thief because his name is Harry Steele, and he meets this woman, and they team up, and they steal a plane, uh, and he lands, and they even take a bright yellow raft down the river. And after they steal the plane, his gun is the same. He's the same type of revolver. uh, and they go and on an adventure to find this piece of treasure. The other thing is, in the Last Crusade, I don't know if you remember, there was Harrison Ford gets pulled from the college to look at a relic. The relic in Last Crusade has a corner of the stone missing, and I think it had to do with that cruciform sword relic. The missing corner um, had information on it. He later found it in a catacomb. Well, in this one, he steals a corner of a stone from the museum, and that also has hidden information on it. Um, there's also a character that's a kind of slimier character. Okay, so this is where we're getting Last Crusade missing part of the stone. That's what this is from. And then the map room. We have a map room. We have it's not exactly a headpiece in a stone like Raiders, but it is a reflective disc that reveals the location to the treasure. So we essentially have a map room with the reflective dish and revealing the location to the treasure, which is the kind of one for one Raiders of the Lost Ark. Um, you know, falls for the girl, finds the hidden treasure. Um, there's a double cross. This is pretty typical of the Indiana Jones films. Opening scene, really, to Raiders is the double cross with Belloc, I think. Um, and so anyway, so what? I just don't know if they were afraid. I mean, it's a Paramount picture too, so I don't know if they were just afraid to say, "Hey, we're doing a remake of Secret of the Incas, but ours is going to be super cool." They didn't say that. They said, "Well, we're influenced by the serials we watched growing up, which probably slightly predate this. Actually, 1954. I don't know. That's pretty early on. So, yeah, the whip, really, the whips from the serials, and essentially this is a remake. It's not that different from Inglorious Bastards, Tarantino, except Tarantino was like, yeah, I'm, it's my movie, but it's essentially Inglorious Bastards just remade and what he wanted to do. So yeah, this was I think why it's a surprise. A lot of you might be out there if you're like a super cinephile, you might be like, well, I knew this already, but this wasn't. If you grew up with Indiana Jones, like pre-internet, this wasn't common knowledge. You'd have to really know your cinema to understand this. And when they would do interviews, they did not talk about Secret of the Inca and Charlton Heston, Harry Steele, and the Secret of the Inca. So this is not to take away from Raiders. It's just that, like, I think when Raiders came out, you were just like, my God, this is like visionary. It's brilliant, and it is. And if you watch Harry Steele, it's not, it's not quite on the level. But pretty much all the pieces are there. Even when they go to the archaeological dig, they're surrounded by professors and adventurers. As a matter of fact, I think Harry pretends to be potentially an academic, or it's something like that. But um, and even in Indiana Jones himself was accused of being a grave robber. So essentially, that's what Harry Steele is here. So again, it very very similar. Um, fedora's the same, jacket's the same, gun's the same. 5 o'clock shadow. Um, So anyway, it's the whole film is online for free on YouTube if you want to check it out. I think it's a very it's a very cool watch actually. It's something to just throw on and take a look at. So definitely worth watching. And lastly, to bring it back to the film festivals, we're looking at some of our deadlines. We still have a number of big underground film festivals to hear back from. Arizona, Boston Underground. I actually played here in 2005 when it was relatively new, and that was with a film called Land of College Prophets. Who knew that a few decades later it would be considered one of the top in the world? No, it's pretty cool. World Fest Houston's another cool one. South by Southwest London, that's a long shot. East Hampton Film Festival. Chris Ferry runs that one up in Mass. Rain Dance, that's another like BAFTA qualifying one. Raw New York, we'll see. That's an underground film festival, one of the few underground film festivals left in New York. We'll see if they'll go for it. And then Chicago Underground is the reigning king of probably all underground film festivals in the world. So New York City Real Festival, that's one. Anyway, so lots to hear back from, and we're still going to go all the way up until the summer, and then we're going to have to look into releasing Video Dreams for streaming. So that should be some fun. So anyway, all right, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.